Forgot something. I'll be back. 1 second. Sorry, I forgot my glasses. Okay. Today, this unentangled or untangled. 17th November, Sunday, 9:13 in the morning. A little cool. I think it's in the low 60s now. And while people are coming in, I'm going to go into the live stream and make sure everything's working right. Okay. Check for sound and picture. We got sound and picture. I'm going to do a couple of fast posts up here. Just be quick, don't worry. Giving people a chance to come in. And I'm going to put my email up. Okay. Got that. Don't know how many people we're going to get in here today. We'll find out. So I got up early and was working early today. So let me do some praise, and then, because we're a Bible-believing site, all the New Testament, and then we'll get into it. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Before we start, I'm trying to think of different times I can do these live streams, okay? And I'd like feedback, okay? I've been doing it on Israel time, which is late at night for about half the people in America. The other half, probably it's a reasonable time for them. I don't get very many people from Asia. I get some people from Australia and New Zealand. Let's see what the time is over there. It's really a big time zone difference. Hang on. Australia might have a few different time zones. I don't know. Uh, let's see. It's 6. It's a little after 6 in the evening. So the time for them is pretty okay. Japan, China, Taiwan, I don't, South Korea, I don't get anybody really that I know of. I may occasionally get somebody, I don't know. So what could I do? If I do the broadcast at, let's say, I did it at 12 noon in Israel, it would be, depending on the time of the year with the time changes, it'd be in East Coast time, like probably about 5 in the morning, and California time would be 3 in the morning. So that doesn't get us anywhere, does it? So if I did it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it would be 8 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock California. Yeah, that could work. But then it would hurt. Well, it wouldn't hurt. I don't know. I don't know what to do. So I might experiment with it. If I do, I'll put a brief YouTube up saying, well, today I'm going to do the broadcast later in the day. I'll give you actually, I'll give you a warning before I do it, or I'll put it up. I don't know how to really make it work. If I do it at, let's say, 6 o'clock in the evening in Israel, I'm going to be tired, but let's say then I'm doing it at 11 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, 10 and 9. People are working, going to work, getting ready. When you're dealing with the worldwide, there's no good time. So the majority of the people really watch it as a video. So I guess that works because they don't, um, they can watch it at their leisure. So it may not be that important. The vast majority of people don't take it up as a live stream. Okay, so we'll start with a little bit of current events. We're still pounding Hezbollah, boom, 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 day and night. They're in Lebanon. They're getting like, I don't know, around 60 rockets a day off when they have a nice day. They were getting up to 200. So they're going down. You're reading like in my Telegram where I do the updates, they're having Israel ground forces are having battles inside Lebanon with Hezbollah. But you need to understand this, okay? Lebanon's not drawing a line and holding it. The Hezbollah is not drawing a line and holding it. Okay, they can't. Because as soon as they tried to draw a line and hold it, our helicopters would shoot rockets at it. Our planes would shoot missiles and drop bombs on them. Our mobile artillery would pound them with artillery fire. Our towed artillery would pound them from a greater distance with artillery fire. And they wouldn't get anywhere. They'd just die. So what they're doing is they're doing like, Che Guevara guerrilla tactics or something, They're hiding in rough areas, either in buildings, behind buildings, on roofs, shooting out of windows, or they're hiding in the fields, in the woods, and they're, ambushing or trying to attack our forces, and that holds us back briefly, and then we have returning fire, and then they got to dissipate and go into go away, or the more time they hang around, the more lethal it could be for them, because our soldiers aren't going to sit there and just shoot it out with them. they're going to radio in their positions and call for artillery and airstrikes. So they can't stick around. So when you read this stuff, you got to understand the reality of that. Okay, they're not going to take 250 Hezbollah and hold the line because there'll be 250 sets of arms, legs, and heads flying all over the place when the artillery, bombs, and missiles hit. They can't do that. They're not going to encounter us with tanks. No God. They're not going to use airplanes against us. No God. What are they going to do? So it's going to come to an end. Okay, it's going to come to an end. Now, Iran is having civil strife, but I would imagine a civil war against the Iranian government would be. I'm not seeing it succeeding right now at all. It could start, but they would be crushed. These guys resort to torture. They would pick. There's no constitutional rights there. They'd pick people up, bring them in, torture them. Find out where the others are, get the family members. It would be just. It would be the Gestapo or the Stasi all over again. That's all it would be. I don't see it. The government of Iran needs to be severely damaged. Now, there's rumors that Khomeini, Ayatollah Khomeini, that's the guy that runs Iran. That there's two rumors associated with each other. One, I would say, is probably confirmed. The other, I don't know about. The first one that's probably confirmed is the guy got sick and is in a coma. I think that's real. Okay? The second rumor, I don't think it's so much of a rumor as that it's probably true. He's mid-80s, The second rumor is that he's already dead. Now, I can't confirm this. So at this point, I wouldn't go out and say Khomeini is dead, ding dong, the witch is dead. Okay? There's not enough confirmation. It's not even close, Now, if he did kick the bucket, they're going to conceal it until they get their act together in their minds as to how they want to reveal it and who's going to be in his place. Now, the person that's supposed to succeed or follow Ayatollah Khomeini, if he kicks the bucket, is his son. And his son is rarely seen publicly, doesn't do speeches or get out there in the public. He's kind of in the shadows, really in the shadows. So if he could pass it on to his son, that means that basically he's the king of Iran. Although the people don't know it, he's the one that runs Iran. Now, I'll keep looking for information to see if anything happens with his death, but somebody is on Twitter saying Israel Intel said that he's dead. Well, I'm not finding it in Israel yet. It may come out later. I'll keep an eye out and I'll put it up when it happens. I'll put it on Telegram. So that's that. Trump, I'm being told, wants to eliminate the Federal Reserve Bank. You got to understand what a brilliant idea this is. Trump is a businessman and can do things economically that would be very effective. However, I don't think he's a warrior. Okay, and I think he's scared of war. I'm saying that on purpose. He's scared of war. Okay? First thing you have to understand is Trump has a conflict of interest with engaging in a war with foreign powers. What is that conflict of interest? You got to listen to me. Some of you love this guy. The conflict of interest is Trump and his dynasty, the corporations, own massive amounts of real property, real estate around the world outside the United States. Resorts and golf clubs, These are many millions of dollars of investments. I'm talking $50, $100 million investments. He has them all over the place. They're all around the world. He has a lot of them. And he has a lot of, without the golf course, residential places. And without the residential places, he has golf clubs that are very expensive. Okay. And the Secret Service, when he was president last time, said they're not going to protect his properties. They will if he goes to Scotland to play golf with his buddies. Yeah, they'll put 150 Secret Service agents on it or whatever they put in, to run to run around and protect Trump while he's at the resort. And once he leaves the resort, Secret Service is going to leave. Now, if Trump has a residence at the resort, they might leave a crew of 2 or 3 agents there to monitor the place, maybe stay at it, so nobody goes in there and plants a bomb, which they could remote detonate if he's not there. But they don't really need to do that, because if Trump's going to go there, let's just pick a day of the week, on Thursday, on Monday, they send a team of 10 or 15 agents, and they go around there with bomb-sniffing dogs, electronic devices, and they go looking for bugs and everything else in there. So they don't need to keep people there all the time. He has so many residences, they can't really put 2, 3 people there, all the time, They probably would leave electronics there that would pick up a detection, hopefully, and that kind of thing, okay? So there's a conflict of interest. Now, why do I tell you this? This is what we hear Trump talking about with Iran now. He's not singing bomb, 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 Iran. No. He's back to the old idiocy of Biden and Trump. Idiotic behavior. What am I talking about? Sanctions. Have we seen sanctions really do anything to deter wars and imperialism from other countries? Not in the least. They still keep it up. How does Iran break the sanctions? I don't know every way, but one way is they take one of their tankers, fill it up with oil, float it out through the Persian Gulf into an ocean someplace, and they meet up with, say, a Chinese tanker ship. And they both moor, they just get near each other, and they run hoses from one ship to another, and they transfer the load. It takes some hours. And then the Chinese ship goes merrily about his way, and the Iranian ship goes back to do it again. Now, if China wants oil from North Korea, it can just pull in with their ships and say, we're here to get our oil from Iran. Well, you're breaking sanctions. And China says, well, we don't recognize the sanctions. Are you going to sink our ships? And try to find out what happens if you do that. And it would be rather doubtful America would do anything about it. The sanctions will not work. The only way they're going to make sanctions work that I could possibly think of, there's 2 ways. One is have Netanyahu blow up their oil industry. Trump's saying he wants to bankrupt Iran. So if Netanyahu blows up their oil and gas industry, the pipelines, the ports, the piers, the storage tanks, the refineries, which would take an afternoon of work for us, then you've sanctioned them. That's a real sanction. Okay? What Trump is proposing is not really that. And he emphatically, I tell you, is not going to bankrupt Iran that way. The only way Trump can really accomplish sanctions on oil and gas on Iran is to put a bunch of warships it at the Persian Gulf and interdict them, stop them, look at their manifests, see what's going on, who's it going to, and if they're not satisfied, they tell the ship it has to turn back, it can't pass. What's the ship going to do? Take out a pistol or a rifle and open up on a destroyer? What are they going to do? They'll go back. And what's Iran going to do? Well, that's going to take you to war because Iran's saying, well, they're trying to kill us financially, we're going to collapse. So they're going to threaten back the United States with whatever feeble boats they have and go fast boats and everything else and drones and see if they could get America to back down. If America backs down, the sanctions are worthless. If they don't, they're at war. But Trump ain't going to go to war because his properties will be destroyed. They'll hurt him financially. You have to understand the conflict of interest with Trump is massive. Let's see if we can get a list of his properties outside of the United States. I did this when he was president, and I showed people this is a very bad, bad thing. Most of the people in America will not understand it, nor will they want to believe it. I've got a list. Let's see if it's a good list. Trump has properties in, now well, this is domestic to start, Illinois, Virginia, Florida, Nevada, California, New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, Hawaii. The majority of his American properties are in New York. Now, his other countries where he owns property is Canada, Panama. There's no one there to protect anything in Panama for him. Israel, Dubai, Mexico. Nobody's going to protect them in Mexico. South Korea, Uruguay. No one's going to protect it there. India, chock full of Muslims. Turkey, and the Philippines. He also has interest, and he's a stakeholder in many properties in other countries. The thing that he has in Israel is called Trump Plaza Tower in Ramat Gan. I think it's maybe still under construction, I'm not sure. So it would not be hard for a terrorist-oriented operator like Iran, or Russia, or China, or North Korea, or Cuba, or Venezuela, or other, or Yemen, or Hamas, or Hezbollah, or Iran-backed militias in Iraq and Syria and so forth to go and start destroying his properties while people are playing golf and living in the residences or the hotel. So you must understand this. Everybody thinks Trump's their savior. Watch. First of all, he's not in office. Watch. If he is in office, I could promise you he will try to improve the economy in America and be rather effective if prophetic time allows for it. But On the other stuff, he ain't good. He doesn't know what he's doing. Okay? His experience doesn't lend itself to international wars and warfare and stuff like that. Okay. So you could consider the sanctions as a joke. Elon Musk and the meeting with Iran. Iran said there was never such a meeting. I suspect that's probably true. It probably clickbait. Why would Musk meet with Iran? Why would Trump send him to meet with Iran? I don't know. You know, it didn't. Apparently, it didn't happen. Iran never attacked us, and they're bowing out gracefully and trying to hope Israel doesn't attack them. But they got no radar. Okay. Now, Russia might have brought more radar in. There's rumors they got S-400 systems. So what? Take that out too. It's not meaningful. Okay? And I haven't really had it confirmed that they do, in fact, have operating S-400 radar. There might be a bunch of radar that came on a ship in crates or a plane and they're trying to get it together and operate it. Now, will Netanyahu attack Iran? Well, I still hold to my guns, and that Israel is quite occupied with cleaning out terrorists that are nesting in Gaza and beating Hezbollah down. When they get Hezbollah down to where they miss days, where the days go by without a missile launch, then I think we're ready for an attack on Iran. I think Netanyahu's got a very wide window of a few months to do it. He may be waiting for Trump to get sworn in. I don't know. Trump will tell him, hit the nuke facilities, hit the oil and gas industry. Then Trump doesn't have to do it. And he's already told Netanyahu that to do it before the election. He keeps saying, finish Hamas before the election, finish Hezbollah before the election, go get Iran. See, he wants all this stuff done before he's the president because he doesn't want all his properties around the world attacked. Okay? Now, on the economy, Trump's talking about getting rid of the Federal Reserve. Well, that's wonderful. It's an unconstitutional nightmare. It never should have been effected. Of course, with that gone, the IRS is gone. Now, the Federal Reserve Bank is owned by private individuals. I believe they make up a board of directors. And I don't know how many there are, probably around 12, maybe more. Their identities are kept secret by law, and they pay no taxes on the income. So when the government says, okay, we need another, $10 billion, they just make a computer entry and voila, $10 billion appears out of nowhere, and then they charge the American government on that money. So when you see $37 trillion of debt, that debt is payable to who? China, Russia, Argentina, Tokyo? No, the Federal Reserve Bank, and they don't pay any taxes on their profit. So they were created in 1913. They make money out of thin air and then charge the American government interest for it, which the American people have to pay. So what Trump would need to do, which I don't know if he's got the guts to do it, is declare the Federal Reserve System to be what it is, which is a Ponzi scheme, and just close it down quietly and declare it a Ponzi scheme, unconstitutional, go through the history that it was done over Christmas and most of the Congress wasn't voting on it, and just eliminate it and say that it's illegal. We're not paying the debt to it. And then what did Trump do? He wiped out $37 trillion of debt. $1 trillion is 1,000 billion dollars, and $1 billion is 1,000 million dollars. So it's a massive amount of debt. Just it's gone. Then he probably would relieve student loan debt and other debts as well. What they would be, I don't know. Under those circumstances, he would probably forgive any overdue taxes too. So wipe the slate clean. No more IRS. If he forgives all the taxes, he just fires all of them. I don't know how many people they got, 100, 200,000. It's huge. Just cuts them. Goodbye. Get your pension if you qualify. If not, apply for work in another government agency or go your way. So he gets rid of the national debt, the dollar soars in value, and he's much better equipped to fight against BRICS. What he'll do for another currency, I don't know. Would he put America on a gold standard? I would say there's about a 2% chance of that. Would he put us on a silver standard? Again, 2% chance. He'll come up with something else. Remember, he formed his own digital currency operation a few months ago. So what he'll come up with as an alternative, I don't know. The best alternative that I think we would be able to see from Trump, I really don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going to come up with a dollar secured by anything other than the good faith and the word of the American government, which is not much. That's the only thing I think he would do. So on that one, we got to wait and watch. It's the only thing you could do. Let's see if the American dollar picked up any strength recently. I'll try it against the shekel, but that's not a great test. It's pretty not moving against the shekel one way or the other. Let's try it against the euro. It's strengthened against the euro noticeably. The euro is worth $1 plus 5 cents. It was higher. It was about $1.08, I think. Now let's check it against the pound, the British pound. $1.26. I think it went down from $1.28, or maybe I've seen it as high as $1.32. So one British pound is now worth $1.28. And it's maybe it had some movement. The Aussie dollar. Yeah, it's down slightly. It used to be 66, 67 cents. An Aussie dollar was worth that. Now the Aussie dollar is worth 64 cents. So it climbed a little bit. And so basically it climbed a little bit. It's nothing to write home about. Let's see what we can come up with on gold and silver. They managed to push gold and silver down some when Trump won the election, but I haven't checked it in a couple of days. Let's see what we get. Um, Silver's at $30.20, which really isn't bad. And gold's down to 25.62, so it's down some. Okay, so people are a certain amount of people are not scared that much anymore, and there's not that many people that are looking to buy into gold at these high prices. There you have it. So we're going to knock Hezbollah down more. We're knocking out Syria too, because that's a threat. And when we get that knocked down, then we'll probably attack Iran. I'm hearing Russia has 30,000 troops in Iran. So what? What are they there to? Because everybody's afraid that if there's a ground invasion of Iran, the guy Putin can't even handle Ukraine. He can't handle Ukraine. Really, he can't. He has not taken back that cursed region territory that Ukraine occupied in Russia. He can't get it back. Okay? So what the heck is he going to do in Iran? Get into a deep war in Iran and Ukraine at the same time? Goodbye, Russia. When you read about Gog and Magog in Ezekiel 38, 39, which is down the road several decades, probably close to 70 years down the road. What you're talking about there is a piece of geography that used to be called the USSR, now is called the Russian Federation, and I don't know what it'll have for a name when Gog and Magog actually happens. It's not the Russian Federation under Putin. It's some of the geography is involved. That's all. You have to learn to think this way. Don't perpetuate the existence of Putin's Russia. I don't think Putin's Russia is long for this world. I'm thinking. Okay. I guess that's about it on current events. China's doing a lot of nothing. North Korea's making a lot of noise and beating the war drums and doing a lot of nothing. Let me check into the chat here. Kansas City, okay. Huh. Israel has oil too. Well, offshore rigs, but I drive around Israel and I don't see oil rigs, things that go up and down. I don't see that. All right, so let me get into my notes and we'll get into some Bible stuff, okay? I think you're going to like this. It's new stuff. First, we have a prayer request for healing for a cat named Bella. B as in boy, Ella. Healing for a cat named Bella. We do very good with our healing on animals. On Chief, he's not kind of whimpering when he's walking anymore, but he's not walking if he could help it. So he's not comfortable or something. Like I said, somehow one of his legs in the rear was bothering him. I don't know what happened. I don't know of anything. I didn't see anything happen. He might have tried to go off the steps or something when I wasn't around and fell, but I don't have any knowledge of anything like that. So please keep the prayers going for him. For more, he needs more healing so he can walk more pain free or something. But it's reduced because he's not whimpering. I'm not hearing that. As a matter of fact, he got up this morning. I was working around 4 in the morning, and he got up about 5 and barking his head off. And I didn't want him to wake my wife up, so I put him and Yaffer outside. They wanted to get out, so I mean that's a good sign. And he eats like voraciously, so it's got to go away. I got to get him a bath. He's getting all the leaves and branches stuck in his long winter fur now. But I'm not going to bathe him when he's got a sore leg at all, so I got to wait till that gets healed. But he needs a bath. Now I want to talk to you about Israel, the country, not the Bible stuff right now. Israel is an extremely hard place to live. And this is going to lead to spiritual warfare, but I want to give you some facts. Okay? Why is Israel a bad place to live? Well, we have constant terrorist attacks before October 7th and after. Car rammings, shootings, stabbings, bombs at bus stops, in buses every now and then, and trying to pull people out of cars, sniping in cars, all this stuff, okay? That's bad, right? Now we got missiles and drones coming in. And on October 7th, we were actually invaded by Hamas, and lots of people got killed. And they took men, women, and children hostage, and they're still holding small children as hostages in Gaza. Small children. Okay? The income tax, if you make any kind of money in Israel, is 50%. 50% income tax. 50. Half your money. It's worse. The VAT, which is a sales tax and an import duty, is 17%. They let you get away with the first $75 of imported goods. So if you go to Amazon and you bought a bunch of t-shirts for $61, you wouldn't have to pay any income tax on it. Okay? Or VAT tax. If you bought $79 worth, you would have to pay 17%. And if you work, you're already getting hit for 50% income tax. You getting it? Okay. Your employer has to pay for what they call Kupat Olim. It's socialized medicine. They have 3 systems here you can join. It's illegal if you don't join any of them, and you got to pay money for that. Since we're old and retired, it's about $350 a year. But it's such a crappy, lousy medical system. You have no idea. It stinks. The wealthy people in Israel use private healthcare, which is rather expensive. And the doctors in the private system are not the ones working in the public system. And they will often use the regular Israeli hospitals for their surgeries and treatments. So it's like an overlapping system. And I've never done that. I don't even use the health insurance we have. My wife and me are both afraid of the doctors here. They're not good. They don't care. And when you are not one of the native Israelis with protexia, corruption, I know this person and this person's going to call you and tell you to take care of me. That's how this country works. They all try to get over on their fellow countrymen. It's horrible here, believe me. They all try to get over on their fellow countrymen with what they call protexia, which is corruption. It's terrible, okay? The hospital system stinks. The doctors are junk, okay? Junk. You go to an ophthalmologist in America or any real country, what do? They dilate your eyes to see what's going on. They don't dilate your eyes here. They got 15 minutes per patient. All the jackasses do is they look in your eye, they take your pressure, maybe have you read an eye chart, and then they just take notes and they throw you out. It's a waste of time to go there. It's a terrible system. It's a system. I mean, if somebody, threw a hatchet at you and got it lodged in your chest and you got an ambulance and went over there, would they do something for you? Yeah, but I wouldn't trust the jackasses. I know in the States, people get hip replacements 3 months later. They're doing martial arts and sports. Here, 3 years later, the people with the hip replacements are walking around with canes and crutches and stuff. They're terrible. Okay, so I wouldn't even want to go to them. I'm afraid of them. The real estate prices are so high, people leave Israel because they'll never be able to afford a house. The laws are stacked against you radically and seriously with the landlords. You have no rights with the landlord. You got to pay the property tax and you make the repairs on the house. Or the landlord tells you to leave and then you just can move into another house where the same thing is going to happen most likely. You see it? There's serious gun control. People push against Netanyahu. He's been the dictator of Israel for some 20 years, 23 years now, or 21 or 22. He is horrible. He's right from the pit of hell. He is awful. Listen, he was buying submarines from a German submarine company. They sell us submarines at a serious discount as war reparations. They make good submarines. So he was buying them, and he had his cousin, who was a lawyer who didn't live in Israel, negotiate the sale. And they found that the German submarine company sent the cousin $25 million as, for lack of a better word, a commission. And it got caught. And that has something to do, I think, with his 3 criminal cases that are in process now that he keeps stalling because he's dealing with the wars. Is he dragging out the wars because he's afraid of those criminal cases which give him 16 years in jail at worst case? A lot of people think so. And he's trying again to do judicial reform, where he wants to basically say the prime minister's immune from any civil or criminal persecution for anything he does when he's in office. And nobody wants that. Israel could have a civil war. I would give it, at this point, maybe a 15% chance, 20% chance. It's not high yet. Could get there. If he does the judicial reform, people are going to want to get rid of him, because that means he could take $100 million bribe from this one and that one, and you can find out about it and you can't prosecute him. You could get him thrown out of office, but you can't charge him with the crime. You see what I'm saying? He's a terrible person. It's You have no idea how bad he is. And the other ones are no darn good either. They're all like this. They're all cut from the same satanic cloth. They're all no good. They're worthless. They're horrible. Okay? So Netanyahu is trying to be a war hero, and he's testing the waters to see if he can get the judicial changes through, which means he weakens the high court. They call it the Supreme Court. It's the high court. They weaken it so it doesn't have any control over the government. So the democracy, which is supposed to have three branches: executive, which is him; judicial, which is the Knesset; judicial, which is the high court; and legislative, which is the Knesset, the Congress, the one-house Congress, 120 seats. So that's, bad. So they passed gun legislation to ease up on the gun laws, and he tells the people that issue the gun laws to drag it out, make the people wait 9 months. He doesn't want the people to have guns, but quite a few do, because he's afraid of a revolution. All gun control is bad for the people. Always, without exception, it always leads to higher crime and less safety and nastier people. A armed society is a polite society. If everybody's walking around with guns and there's, two people are going for a parking spot, in a gun-free, country, they'll start yelling and screaming. And if one of them works for the government and has a gun, he'll be even worse. But if everybody's armed, this stuff with the fighting, you cut me off, you monster, blah, blah, it goes away. Okay, people get polite. It's a lie that gun control ever helps the people. It's 100% lie. It helps the government control the people even worse. Even worse. Now, there are a lot of guns flying around Israel, but not enough. What this mental midget Netanyahu should have done is taken the surplus rifles of Israel has for years stored up and given them to every Jew for free right after October 7th. If the people were armed like they were before this monster Netanyahu took office, and they came in from Gaza, they would have encountered all kinds of gunfire and gotten killed. This pig tells people that live right near Gaza they're not allowed to have guns. Do you understand the sickness of this individual? How demented in his brain he is? I hope you understand it. This is Israel. They sneak in from Syria. They sneak in from Lebanon. They sneak in from Egypt. They sneak in from Gaza. And he doesn't want the people to have guns. He's sick. And he's going to roast in the lake with the flames. Okay. What else is bad about Israel? Well, there's a mandatory draft for the women and the men. It's completely unbiblical to put women in the army. Don't ever let anybody tell you Netanyahu's a man of God. He's a man after Satan's own heart. Don't ever believe that. And the men have to go in, and the men stay in the reserves until they're 40 years old. That's a huge deterrent. Nobody wants to come to Israel. Mostly, the food sold in Israel, unless you go to the Arab neighborhoods and Arab stores, which we do, because there's nothing in the Bible about any rabbi koshering food. It's nonsense. The koshered food is predominantly what's sold in Israel. They kosher the water. They kosher the water. The water. Can I show it to you? Let me think. If I could get it on the screen. It's very faint. It won't pick it up on the screen. But I've done this before. I've showed you they kosher water. How can you kosher water? Do you know how stupid that is? What is the blood in the water? You can't kosher water. They kosher everything. I think our food costs are about 35% higher because of this koshering process that the rabbis live on, the ultra orthodox. And only an ultra orthodox rabbi could be kosher. They got Netanyahu to make it a crime if you put a kosher certificate on your store or your restaurant and you say kosher and it's not signed off by an ultra orthodox rabbi, it's signed off by a conservative rabbi or a regular rabbi, you could go to jail. It's a shakedown, and he participates in it. He allows it. He propels it. See how horrible he is? Okay? It's not in the Bible. All right. So the Arab guys that sell the food, they don't sell it at the right price either because they know the Jewish stores are about 35% high. So they'll come down 15, 20%. They won't come down all the way. So they make a greater profit margin. That's how sick they are. They're very sick. And I go there and I see people with kippas shopping there, yarmulke. They must be Orthodox. They must be Messianic or something because the Orthodox Jews won't go there. Most of the government money, the spending is on weapons. Netanyahu ordered 75 F-35s. We've got about 50 of them, I think. Something like that. 40-something. And they cost $100 million a throw. Now he's buying F-15s that cost even more money. He's throwing all this money into defense spending. Not health care, not quality of life, nothing. We had a guy, Naftali Bennett, another liar. He said, oh, I'm going to be doing housing. I'm going to build houses in Israel. There's plenty of vacant land. You know, we're going to put government buildings up and you'll be able to move in and have reasonable housing in the form of an apartment, of course. Did it ever happen? No. They are trying to keep Jews out of Israel. Get that down. Get that down, because that's the truth. The only Jews they want in Israel are the rich ones. What happens when Jews from other countries come here? The people in Israel are so demented now that they don't like them. They don't want them here. Okay? They take advantage of them. They charge them more when they, like for real estate and stuff like that, they try to rip them off. Okay? Charge them more for rent. Take advantage of them. They like suing them in court because they don't know what's going on in the court system. They love suing them in the court. The lawyers are no good here. The courts are corrupt. There's no jury trials in Israel. Do you understand that? You think the judges aren't corrupt? Let me tell you something. Horse racing with the carts or just riding the horse, dog racing, gambling casinos, card parlors, they only exist because they can rig it. They can fix it. If they couldn't rig it, they wouldn't have it. Okay? Anything they have, they rig, including the courts. If you're a believer, you don't have a chance in a court. You think they're going to have non-satanic, non-demon worshiping judges in their courts? So let's say an atheist or a believer in Yeshua could go to court and sue a Satanist with success? You think they're that dumb they didn't protect themselves that way? Forget the courts. Here you can't even do a jury trial. You got to go to the judge only. It's sick. They pay new immigrants less money. You could be more skilled than an Israeli, and it's expected for them to pay you less money. They expect each other to take advantage on the new immigrants and take advantage of them. And they take advantage of widows, orphans, old people. They're garbage. 2/3 are going to be cut off, and I don't regret it. Not one bit. They ruined Israel. They made immigration. The Supreme Court said that if you're a Messianic Jew, you could immigrate here. Under Netanyahu, that piece of walking garbage. If you're a new immigrant and you come here and they ask you, did you ever believe in, if you're trying to come in as Jewish, did you ever believe in Yeshua or Jesus? Ever. If you say yes, they immediately cancel your immigration. You have to take them to court and fight them in court. Because you're going to win. It's expensive. If you get a charitable organization to take your case, which they might, or they might take at a reduced fee, it'll just take you 3 years, and you'll be here and they'll torture you for 3 years. And at the end of the second year, they go to you and they'll offer you a permanent residency without a citizenship, so you can't vote because they don't want you believing in Yeshua and being in Israel. It's a Jewish state. This is how sick it is. Well, I got an end game here for you. Don't worry. Spiritual warfare. Let me get there. So that's what they do. Okay? That's what they do. They don't let non-Jews come in here. You got to get an Orthodox rabbi on a list of rabbis that tells you you're Jewish. Why the heck are they going to say you're Jewish? You know, it's so bad. Okay? They want ultra-Orthodox Jews coming here. They favor them. Why? They're going to study the Talmud, not the Bible. They're not going to be any threat. I'm going to be right back. And then I'm going to show you what we can do about this. Just to give you the intensity of how corrupt and evil Netanyahu is, there's new charges against him where he leaked some super top secret documents. You have to go into a secure location, a government building that you're not going to get into unless you got high clearance. And then you got to go into a room where these documents are, and you can't photograph it. You have to leave your phone outside, I guess. And there's no photocopiers, and stuff like that, right? So um, he leaked the document that was very, very secure document, and he did it for his own reasons. And they found out about it, and it traced back to him, and they filed on him in the Supreme Court. And because of the war and all the tension this would bring in Israel, they sealed the court case. It's a piece of garbage. Okay? If you're going to be the head of some government agency here in Israel, you're going to get there because you've got satanic connections, and that's why you're there. Nothing to do with your ability. It's just so bad, okay? So if the wars stop, Netanyahu's going to get bounced out, and he knows it. His criminal cases will immediately continue. And he from what I could tell, in my opinion as a non-lawyer, he ain't going to win. The Supreme Court wants to get rid of him because they see him as a threat to the democracy in Israel, because he wants to run as a dictator. He doesn't do anything good for Israel. Nothing. Can I sit there and show you anything that he ever did good for Israel? I can't. I could not do that. I don't see anything. He's a curse. And they like him. So that's why I think, along with many other Israelis, that he's dragging out the wars. And he's trying to make an end run for the days of Trump, because him and Trump get along. And Trump will boost him up because he'll puppet for Trump. Trump will pull the strings, and then will dance. So he'll try to elevate him in the eyes of the Israeli people, and then will try to get rid of his criminal cases, but he hasn't been successful. Trump would kill millions of Israelis. I've told you this before. Do I think, in my humble opinion, that Netanyahu would throw Israel into horrific wars, knowing Israel would get destroyed just to get out from his criminal cases? Yeah. You think at his age, what is he, 75 or something, he's going to go risk 16 years in jail, lose his wealth, whatever it was. I don't know where he keeps his money, if he has money outside of Israel, if he doesn't have. I have no idea. They say he does, but so what? They say a lot of things. But he's a bad guy politically. He's a nightmare. He's a real nightmare, okay? And they keep putting him in office. He was right there running the people out of Gaza. What was it, 2006, 2008? Throwing them out of Gaza. Look how that turned out. Do you know, if we didn't do humanitarian aid in Gaza, and Netanyahu went in for real, seriously, and I'm overlooking the fact that October 7th was allowed to happen, without the humanitarian aid, and he went in for real, and what would for real be? Filling the tunnels at least with water. I would have took gasoline trucks, the trucks that go to the gas stations, and fill them up. I would have brought 50 or 100 gasoline trucks in, found the tunnels, open up a hole, put that hose in there, pump a whole tank of gasoline into their big tunnels, run a nice 200 or 300 foot fuse, very basic, light it, and just watch the fireworks. You think they'd stay in the tunnels after you did that 5 or 10 times? Then what? Well, end of the tunnels. But they were complicated. A lot of them were living on the hospitals. He had his hands full. Um, but a lot of people are accusing him of dragging out the wars. The last several weeks, we've been losing a lot more civilians and soldiers than we ever used to. We hardly ever lost civilians. Now, every week, we're losing civilians. From rocket and drone fire. So I think that the Lord is lighting a fire under Israel to step it up, which is a good thing because it means we're coming to the end of the year of recompenses. But he's got to go, okay? And you can't come to Israel. They don't want you here. Does God want you here? Of course he does. He's going to pave the way for you. We read in Ezekiel 47, the strangers come and sojourn to Israel with the tribes of Israel and become permanent members of the tribes. Okay, you're going to be here. But he don't want you here. Trump don't want you here. Biden don't want you here. The UN don't want you here. Putin don't want you here. Xi Jinping don't want you here. The King of England don't want you here. Nobody wants you. Who wants you here? Name one country that wants all the believers in Yeshua to come here and all the Jews to come here and for us to get all our land back. There's not a single country. All her lovers have left us. The United States is not a lover of Israel. So what did they do? They forced, if we didn't have to give them the humanitarian aid and we fought hard, January 2024, the war with Gaza would have been over. Okay? Now he's increasing the Lebanese war, the Hezbollah, the war in Hezbollah. He really is. Because he wants to put that down and attack Iran and come out some sort of a hero combined with Trump and hope that people let him weaken the court and put himself into dictator mode. At least he's not telling us to declare himself the king of Israel openly. He's doing it subtly. Kings of Israel. A king is normally immune from criminal or civil prosecution. And that's what he wants. And a king doesn't pay taxes. If he's prime minister and he's immune from any, crime, he just doesn't pay taxes while he's prime minister. Nothing happens to him. People here aren't smart, and a lot of them are demonic, and a lot of them are nasty, mean, evil people. When you drive, they're nasty. When you walk on the street, they're nasty. They cheat on lines. They're terrible people. 2/3 are going to go. I'm telling you. And I'm not sitting here crying over it. They are ruining the country, and it's these people that want corruption in power so they could get involved in the corruption, have a better job, and go out and sue people in a rigged court system and all the other sick stuff. The lawyers don't tell you how bad the court system is here because they put themselves out of work. But in my opinion, it's one of the worst court systems in the world. It's equivalent to a third world drug dealing country court system like a Nigeria or something like that. I'm serious. It's harder to live here now than any country in the world, and I would say maybe Ukraine is up there with us. Maybe. Okay. But aside from that, leave Ukraine out of the mix. It's harder to live here than any place in the world, especially for a believer. The right wing party in Israel, when they got in office, I don't know, 2 years ago, whatever it was, they were trying to pass a law that said if you publicly use the name Yeshua or Jesus, you could go to jail for a year. Now, some of you want to live in Israel. Maybe God would use some of you to come to Israel before the Exodus to work with the Israelites when they come to faith. when two or more are gathered in my name, there I am with you. If two of you on earth ask something, and agree and ask something, will be done by my Father in heaven. If you tell a mountain to throw itself in the sea with faith, it can go. What you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and what you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. The word for loose is destroy. It's not really loose. If it's destroyed, it's lifted off you, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a loosing and confirm it with a prayer. And then if you wish to agree with me, and I'm only inviting real believers to do so, if you wish to agree with me to Jehovah, then do so. Okay? B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I loose this government, the curse of this government, off the people of Israel immediately. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. My Father in heaven, Jehovah, I pray that you would abide by this request to loose or destroy or take away the government of Israel from off these people. They hold on, the people living here in Israel, they hold our nose to the grindstone. They're evil, they're demonic, they hate you, they hate your people. I pray you lift this curse off the people of Israel immediately. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And feel free to join in. I trust I made my case. I think it would be wrong if we didn't try. What's good about Israel? Just the fact that it's Israel and what's going to come in the future. That's the only thing good about Israel. Oh, you could drive around and look at the biblical places, but that's worshiping the creation, not the creator in a way. I mean, you're not worshiping it, but all right. Now we're going to get into more pure Bible. Deuteronomy, I'll check the live stream real quick. And wait. I also pray, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, that you would enable the true believers to come to Israel before the next big Exodus and be able to stay here and afford to live here. And I pray this to you, and they could spread the real gospel, Father God, Jehovah. And I pray this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you could agree with that too. That's a big piece of it. You've got a role in this somewhere, that you've been studying the true gospel for a while. Rather than being bitter in the internet, well, if you think I'm bitter, go ahead. Think I'm bitter. I'm realistic. I'm giving you real information. People don't know who you are. I've never seen you here. You could come here and ask for help. I don't believe anybody's going to take you seriously. Nobody knows who you are. Plenty of frauds and con men do that too. So it's just not going to work. Do what you will, but it's not going to work. Why should we? We don't know who you are. All right. So I was on Deuteronomy 11:8. Therefore shall you keep all the commandments which I command you this day, that you may be strong and go in and possess the land whither you go to possess it, and that you may prolong your days in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give unto them, and to their seed, a land that floweth with milk and honey. Now, let's talk about this. We see in Malachi 3, Elijah is training the Levites to make the offerings acceptable unto the Lord. And we see that he purges them and purifies them like gold and silver. And we also see there's the temple. And this happens before Zechariah 12 and before Malachi 4, because it's Malachi 3. So that's going to put the people into obeying the commandments. Now, I imagine the 2/3 will be cut off at some point, because they're not going to obey the commandments. They're just going to go through the motions like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, but the weightier things of the law will be ignored by them. That you may be strong. So let's talk about, does this apply? Therefore shall you keep the commandments which I command you this day. That is, we can assume that's taking place based on Elijah and the Levites in Malachi 3. That you may be strong. Okay, let's see if we could find you may be strong in Zechariah 12. Let me get the verse, probably 8. In that day, Zechariah 12:8, in that day shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. David killed Goliath, a bear, a lion, was a great warrior. That's for the old feeble people. And the house of David shall be as Elohim, God, as the angel of the Lord before them. Okay, so we just established that would be happening, did we not? We did. Deuteronomy 11, what was it? Was it 8? No. Yeah, it was 8. You may be strong and go in and possess the land whither you go to possess it, and that you may prolong your days in the land. Well, when we see Yeshua, the real believers are going to have everlasting life all over the earth, not just in Israel, but in Israel too. They're going to have everlasting life, which is not that you can't die. That only happens in New Jerusalem when you eat of the tree of life and partake of the water of life. But that everlasting life is definitely prolonging your days in the land, which the Lord swore unto your fathers to give unto them. Okay, so you see how this all fits together? Of course, the law is not dead. Do you see it in? Okay. It's not that hard. What's been done once will be done again. Now, let's talk about population for a minute. The current figures in the world are 16,783,000 known Jews or Israelites, because we don't know who the lost tribes are. Okay? And 16.7 million. In Israel, there's 6.6 million, or 6.7 now. And in America, there's 6.5. So together, that's 13 million. So then there's about 3.7 million known Jews all around. The rest of the countries added together. UK and France have a bunch and stuff like that. Okay. The amount of Jews in the world is about 1/5 of 1% of the world population. I'll say again, the amount of known Jews in the world, or Israelites in the world that are known to be Israelites, are 1/5 of 1%. That's it. So again, I'm thinking Malachi 3 precedes Zechariah 12, because from Malachi 3, the blessings of the Lord come on the people, at least that are left at that time. And they, well, with the help of the two witnesses, of course, get rid of their enemies miraculously. But they got to go to the war first, and that happens. Okay, so the word Yovel is Jubilee year, every 50th year. In the Hebrew, it's Yovel. In the English, they call it Jubilee. It's also called, well, let's just stick to that, okay? And the word Yovel in Hebrew has the root meaning is return home, like come back home, return home. Because people in Israel would sell themselves out to their other Israelites for a period of years for an amount of money to help their family get out of debt or whatever it was they needed. And they would work as some sort of a servant for the other Israelite for a number of years. When the Yovel year hit, even if they had another 4 or 5 years left to go, it would be canceled and they would be set free to return home to their home and their families. And if you hocked your land to some guy, you needed money, so you sold your land to a guy, you would sell it to him maybe for 10 or 20 years, whatever. And the guy would give you a certain amount of money, I don't know, in increments of one lump sum or whatever, right? But when it hit Jubilee year, even if the period of time was not yet up, your land reverted back to you. So everybody would return home. They would have their home, their land, their home back again. And if their home and land was with their family and they were sold into a servant's position, then they would go home again. That was the big things about Jubilee year. Okay? If you ask Netanyahu to follow Jubilee year, he'd probably say over my dead body. But they'd never do it, you know. So how are they going to exist with Elijah? They're not. Who's going to win, the government of Israel or Elijah? Who do you think? So now what we got to do is take a, wait a second here. I think I left something out. Let me look at my notes. Let me delete what I already covered. There's a lot of Jews that'll be coming here, and probably a lot of real believers too. Now, let's read Isaiah 61. Of course, it ties to this. Isaiah, where are you? 61. To proclaim the acceptable, let's back a little bit, go to verse 1. The Spirit of Adonai Jehovah is upon me, because Jehovah hath anointed me to preach good tidings, good news, unto the meek. He had sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Now, I've told you this many times, that's not opening up Sing Sing and Rikers Island and, all San Quentin. It's not about that, okay? When Yeshua died and was down for 3 days, he went and preached to them in the pit. And he told them they would be getting out someday. That's your dry bones in Ezekiel 37. And you could see it in Zechariah 9. And I'll read it to you out of Zechariah 9. The church never in a million years ever teaches this. 9:11, Zechariah 9:11. As for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant. Well, when they get circumcised, there's blood, right? I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit. Okay. Now the pit's not San Quentin. The pit is where the dry place that people would go to when they died. Is a very unpleasant place, and they could look across a chasm they can't cross and see the righteous in Abraham's bosom. But since God closed their eyes and stopped up their ears, they go there for their punishment, and then they come back to Israel. Okay? Thy prisoners, they don't have a spiritual body, they got a flesh body when you read Ezekiel 37. Turn you to the stronghold, you prisoners of hope. The prisoners of hope is not San Quentin and Alcatraz and Sing Sing. Well, Alcatraz is closed, and Sing Sing, and the Bastille, which is also closed in France. But it's they're in the pit, and the prisoners of hope. The hope is Yeshua went down and preached to them, and they know someday they're going to get out. And I don't think you're going to see them backslide when they get out, because going to the pit is abstract to a lot of these sinners that love serving Satan and being evil. But it's no longer abstract to these people. They know how real it is. They ain't going back. Thy prisons out of the pit, wherein is no water. Well, remember the rich guy that the dogs licked his sores, ate the food outside the gates of the poor guy, Zacharias or something. I don't remember his name. It's a Z, I think. He was begged for food outside the gates of the rich man, and they gave him the crumbs that fell off his table, and the dogs would lick his sores. They both died. The rich guy was in Abraham's bosom, which is a paradise, and it's down though, because the pit's down, and the rich guy was in the pit, and he was looking over the chasm and talking to Abraham. And Abraham acknowledged him as his son. He said, you had the good things and he had the bad things. Now he has the good and you have the bad. And the guy said, well, send him over here so he could dip his finger in water and put a drop of water on my tongue because it's so hot here and they have no water. And Abraham said, no, you can't cross one way or the other. I can't do it, you know. Then he said, send him back to tell my brothers, because if one comes back from the dead, they'll believe him. And he said, no, if one comes back from the dead, they won't believe him. Abraham said, let him read Moses in the Bible. You know, that's the same Moses in the Bible the church says is done away with. As for they also by the blood of thy covenant I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit where is no water. Okay? Turn you to the stronghold, you prisoners of hope. That's Israel. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. Well, they get a double portion along with us. Okay? Whom I have. Okay, so now some of you probably, I could go through Ezekiel 37 rather quickly. Some of you probably don't know this, so I'll go and interpret with you. The hand of Jehovah was upon me and carried me in the spirit, carried me out in the spirit of Jehovah and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. Now, this is probably not a literalization. It's probably more of a allegory story, parable-ish, but not exactly a parable. And caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. Well, there's no water in the pit. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord God, O Adonai Jehovah, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones. God does nothing unless he reveals it first to the prophets, so he did it here. Prophesy upon these bones and say unto them, O you dry bones, no water, hear the word of Jehovah. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. Now, the word for breath could mean ruach, spirit, but let's keep reading. Probably breath. And I will lay sinews upon you, cartilage, and will bring up flesh upon you, so they don't have a spiritual body, and cover you with skin, no spiritual body, and put breath in you, or spirit in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am Jehovah. So now they have a fear of the Lord. So, and that's the beginning of wisdom. The beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and I prophesied as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to bone, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them, and that could be spirit. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. And the word for live is our old friend Kaya. The root word's Kai, have life. And it says slain, so that could mean, it could mean murdered, destroyed, ruined, killed, slain, um, smitten with deadly intent, destroyed, out of hand, killed, murdered, put to death, slain. It has a connotation of a violent death. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. So there was a lot of them. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. In the Hebrew, it's very accurately translated. It's called Beit Israel, whole, call, Beit, house, Yisrael, Israel. Behold, they say our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts, for what we did. Cut off is just really, it's destroyed, I guess, cut off. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, Behold, O my people, now they're his people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Jehovah when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall you know that Ani Jehovah, I am Jehovah, have spoken it and performed it, saith the Lord. So they come to live in the land of Israel. When Yeshua rose from the dead, the graves opened and many people came out and showed themselves to people, but that wasn't it. Yeshua was the first fruit of life from the dead. Well, he was the first fruit of God, and these were Yeshua's first fruit. But this is different. This is going to be an army of them, which I don't believe was the case. But they stay in Israel. They live in Israel. Where did these guys go that rose from the graves? Are they still in? No, they weren't in Israel. They didn't stay. I don't know where they are. They didn't stay here. These people are not going to have spiritual bodies at this time. They're going to have flesh bodies. Okay? This is, of course, the church teaches it's the church, which is ridiculous. So, where was I when I got into it? I was in Isaiah 61. Go back there. I'm going to drop a big bombshell in a couple of minutes, so be ready for it. It's a bombshell of bombshells. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because Jehovah hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives. We covered that. the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year, it means the pleasant year of Jehovah, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. Well, the acceptable year, the pleasant year, is the Yovel year. And the Yovel year is not the year of vengeance. Oh, I'm sorry. The 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 year of redemption has the same qualities as the Yovel year. Every man gets his inheritance back. They come live in Israel. Okay, and they're reunited with their families. Their families come here too, and they'll see the dry bones, which are also their families, just removed by many, 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 many generations, but they're still their families. Think about that. All right. Um, and the day of vengeance. Well, we know from Isaiah 63, the day of vengeance is in the year of redemption, and from Isaiah 34:8, we know it's also in the year of recompenses, which we're in now. So there's the overlap. Probably the end of the of redemption of recompenses is the day of vengeance, which is the beginning of redemption, or close to the end. May not be precisely the last day. But I don't think that you would have overlap between recompenses and redemption, so it probably is the last thing. To comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion. Mourning in Zion is Zechariah 12, kids. That's the mourning. You know that. That's after Yeshua appears in the clouds and they know who their Messiah is and they have everlasting life. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion. So now we got to tie with Zechariah 12 to the acceptable year, which can be the Yovel year, which is also a year of redemption. To give unto them beauty for ashes, well, ashes they put on when they mourn, and the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness. My people's days shall be like that of a tree, everlasting life. Zechariah 12:10. Are you getting it? The planting of Jehovah, that he might be glorified. And they shall build the old wastes, shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. Okay, so I think you guys got that. Now let's take it into Luke 4:19. Or maybe 16. Let's go to 16. Luke 4:16. And he came to Nazareth. They call it Nazareth in English. It's Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Shabbat day and stood up for to read. They have passages they read. They the rabbis in a Talmudic fashion. I think it's the Talmud assign a certain passage for a certain day. It's not in the Bible. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written. And this is what we just read, Isaiah 61. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He had sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and deliverance to the captives was when he was dead and he went down for 3 days and he preached to them, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised. to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. He was preaching it, he wasn't fulfilling it at that time. And he closed the book and gave again to the minister and sat down, and the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, this day is the scripture fulfilled in your ears. That's not what it says. That's the church trying to throw you off. It means make full, fullness. Let's see what Strong's uses for English. It's not finished, fulfilled. It's what he's saying is, because I preached it now, this is the depth of it. This is the fullness of this scripture. Because his ministry was on earth, and he was kicking end times into gear, so to speak, right? So that's what he was saying. It's not fulfilled. It's the fullness of it. And all bear him witness and wondered at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And they said, is not this Joseph's son? And he saith unto them, you will surely say unto me this proverb, physician, heal thyself. Whatsoever we have heard done in Capernaum, or Capernaum in English, do also here in thy country. And he said, verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. Now, it doesn't say country. It means village or town, okay? So, the next two prophets coming are the two witnesses, and this would apply to them. But I tell you of a truth, many widows were in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months. Well, there's some spiritual pointing to the time and times and half a time here. You're 42 months and 1260 days, time and time and half. But anyway, when great famine was throughout all the land, but unto none of them was Elijah sent, save unto Sarepta of Sidon. I believe Sidon's in Lebanon. Unto a woman that was a widow. And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Elijah the prophet, and none of them was clean, saving Naaman the Syrian, and all they in the synagogue, when he heard these things, when they heard these things, was filled with wrath. See, they wanted to get rid of him. All right. So now I think I'm ready to drop my bomb. And it's a pretty big bomb. Let me check the chat, and then we'll get bombs away. Oh, you're going to like it. Most of you that know me and have been following me are going to like it, but others aren't going to like it. All right. What's the verse? Amos 9:11. Amos Amos, Amos 9, 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David. This is making me think we're looking at Zechariah 12 that day, which I believe we are. That is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith Jehovah that doeth this. Now, I've got my bomb sight. Now I'm going to release the bomb bay doors. They're opening. And now I'm going to pull the lever and release the bomb. Okay, here we go. The remnant of Edom. Edom is Yemen. The remnant, we're going to possess them. What does possess them mean? It means they're working for you as slaves. That's what it means. You don't hire them. They're work. You're possessing them. Also, you're getting their wealth and their land. Now, Edom is going to be a wasteland. So you're not going to stay with them there in Edom. Nobody's going to be living in Edom anymore. It's Yemen. It's a wasteland. So they're coming back to work for you in Israel as your possession or your property. And of the heathen, that word is goyim, the heathen which are called by my name. Now the word for name here is correct. It's Shem. Saith Jehovah that doeth this. What heathen are called by the name of the Lord? Well, let's go through it. Could it be the Buddhists? No. Could it be the Hindus with the statue of a woman with 8 arms? No. Could it be Islam, Muslims? No. Communists? No. Satanists? No. Atheists? No. Who could be called by his name? Let's check this called by words. It's kara to, let's see what Strong's does with this in English. It means address by name. Okay. Now, who are they? Well, I'll show you. Matthew 7:22. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? Do the Jews prophesy in the name of Yeshua? No, they get thrown out of the synagogue, beaten up, killed. Does the Muslims or the Hindus or the Buddhists or the atheists or the Satanists? No. Who does? Church. And in thy name have cast out devils. again, that's only the churchianity people. And in thy name done many wonderful works. So they take the people in for Thanksgiving, give them a dinner, and read them the false gospel and stuff like that. And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work lawlessness. Well, they go into the left hand, the lake of fire. Now let's go back to Amos 9:11. Actually, we'll go to 12. That they may possess the remnant of Eden, and of all the heathen which are called by my name, or call on my name, or call his name, saith Jehovah. With this. And now you know why I am so pounding on the evil of these churches day and night. This is their destiny. Not those that are really in Yeshua, the true believers. You're not. You'll own them. You are not them. You'll own them. But now you understand, maybe perhaps a little more fuller. That's how mad God is with them. They preach that they're going to go up to heaven and come down and reign with Yeshua over us with a rod of iron and all this stuff like that. It is sad. It's so sad. God's replaced Israel with them, which God says Israel's not forsaken or forgotten, but they teach it. They teach the law is dead. Yeshua said, think not that I came to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. For as long as there's a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall be done away with from the law. You know, they snare people, and you know, they do variants, different doctrinal statements and divisions, which says they'll not enter the kingdom of God if they do that. So, do you think you're ever going to hear any of the other people on the internet preach what I just preached? I wish there was 25,000 preaching it. But there's not. There's not. Now you know the future of the churches. Oh boy, a lot of people left. They didn't want to hear it. You see, they don't want to hear it, but when it happens to them, you know, they run away. The church world practices the ostrich study Bible. When there's something that scares them or they don't like, they stick the head in the ground to make believe it's not there. They can't justify doing what they do with the Bible, with the Old and New Testament. So they run away from the scriptures. They come out from among you because they were not of you. Those of you that have been walking in the true gospel probably enjoy this. So, I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. She still needs your prayers. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues to be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, comfort. Pray for better videos. Pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. And I hope you got something out of this, and I really do. And I imagine there's going to be a lot of unsubscribing now. But did I not read it right out of the Bible? Did I say I'm prophesying it? Did I say I had a dream or a vision? Or did I just read it to you right out of the Bible? I read it right out of the Bible. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out.